when the disciples are in the midst of the storm, and when they see the figure of the Lord walking towards them on the surface of the raging waters, they cry out in fear. And the Lord speaks immediately and loudly to comfort them. He says, "Fear not, it is I." But they don't know for certain if they can believe him. Or at the very least, Peter decides that he wants a sign. And the sign that he chooses, we should be conscious of this. The sign that he chooses, he says, "Lord, if it is you, tell me to get out of the boat and come to join you on the water." And we know what happens next. The Lord says, "Do it." Peter gets out. He walks on the surface of the water, and he stays on the surface of the water until he gets distracted with the waves and the wind and begins to sink. And the Lord comes to him, raises him up, and says, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" But I think we may see both wisdom and foolishness in Peter's chosen sign. There is wisdom. Rather, let's start with the foolishness. There's foolishness because Peter is looking for an impressive sign, a great miracle, when he's already been given a great miracle. He sees the Lord walking on the surface of the waves. And now he wants a greater one. He wants to join in this. He wants to participate in this. He wants to do something impressive himself. And yet there is wisdom for Peter as well. Because Peter understands that Christ does not come to us where we are comfortable. Christ does not come to us where we are safe. He does not come to us where we have no need of him. He calls us to leave where we are comfortable, to get up out of where we are at ease in safety and security, and to join him in the wilderness, on the waves, somewhere where we are not comfortable. So, at the same time, wisdom and foolishness from the disciple. We ourselves share in this same reality, this same combination of wisdom and foolishness. We understand that if we wish to encounter God, something extraordinary is required of us. We understand that God is not to be found where we are comfortable, where we are at ease in the normal day-to-day tedium of our lives. We understand that he calls us out, calls us to go out of where we are at ease and to join him in the wilderness, on the waves, in the face of those who may persecute us. And therefore, in our minds, we think that to follow Christ is to do something spectacular, to do something marvelous, something heroic, something impressive, something like going to church during a pandemic. Something like going and ministering to the homeless and resolving, fixing the problems of poverty or suffering or sin throughout the world. The problem is, we cannot live an extraordinary life all the time. We cannot always be doing heroic, impressive, miraculous things. So we gird up our loins, we engage our willpower, and we try to do something religious, something spiritual, something full of faith and hope and love and selflessness and joy. And then we burn out. Then we get tired. Then our strength fails us. In exactly the way that St. Peter fails in his faith and his will as he walks on the water. What we must learn is that the Christian life is not about the grand gestures. The Christian life is not about the great miracles, the tremendous sacrifices, or rather, when these things last, when they reveal the truth of our hearts and our minds submitted to God, in harmony with His will, full of His love. The grand gestures, the great actions, the miracles come later. And what must come first are 1,000, 1,000,000 small actions of faith, of love. We hear the Lord call Peter to leave the boat and walk on the water. And we think to ourselves, we must do something similarly grand to show our faith. When what is required of us, rather, is simply to make the sign of the cross before we eat our meal. To say a prayer first when we wake up in the morning, instead of looking at our phone and checking the news or the sports scores, if there are sports scores. We've missed these last few months. What the Lord requires of us is not that we somehow fix the problems that our neighbors are struggling with, whether those problems are financial, emotional, relational, or spiritual. The Lord asks first that we remember to pray for those neighbors, not just once, but every day, every hour. When the Lord calls us out of our comfort zone, when He calls us to leave our place of security and ease, He calls us to do so at every moment of every day. Not in the great, grand, impressive, visible manner, but in our mind and our heart. Sometimes preachers can be criticized when they talk only about what goes on in the mind. Advice that is given to preachers is tell the people what they should do. Give them some guidance what they should change. But the truth is, we cannot change anything if we do not submit our minds, our thoughts, and our hearts at every moment of our lives to Christ. We are called to take every thought captive, to submit every imagination, every idea to the Lord. If we may learn how to do this, if we can learn how to do this, especially now, because in this age of social distancing, it is difficult to do the grand gestures of the Christian life. But we can still pray. We can still read. We can still take our thoughts in hand and bring them into harmony with the Word and the law and the love of the Lord. With this determination, then, to change our minds, to offer every moment of every day in our inner hearts to the Lord, let us stand and continue the divine liturgy. Again, we bow before you and pray to you,